You're not overweight. Your body's just storing toxic fat because it thinks it's in survival mode. And the worst part, that healthy diet you're following may actually be making it harder to burn that fat. I'm gonna show you one trick that finally turns off fat storage and flips on fat burning. And it works in just 7 days. But you'll need to see all of the steps or it won't work. Skip this and you'll stay stuck. Let's be honest. When you look in the mirror or step on the scale, you see fat. But real fat loss isn't just about calories in versus calories out. Some of that fat is toxic, meaning it sits deep around your organs. And your body is doing this for a very important reason because it thinks you're under threat, under survival mode. You see, over the decades, our bodies evolved to store fat when food is unpredictable and we might face famine or threat. One of the most important things I want you to get is that the number one priority for the human body is survival. It will do everything to survive. So when you have toxins or processed foods that enter the body is very smart. It does not want those toxins to enter your vital organs and kill you right away. So it activates a pathway called PPAR-gamma, which works kind of like insulin, but in a different way, to shuttle those toxins into your fat cells. Why? Because there's room there. And if there's not enough room in your fat cells, guess what your metabolism will do? It will enlarge your fat cells or even create new fat cells. Why? Because the solution to pollution is dilution. Similar to how insulin is activated to clear glucose out of the bloodstream, PPAR-gamma is activated to clear toxins out of the bloodstream. So here's a little paradigm shift for you. We should actually be thankful for the fat on our body because it's a storage house for those toxins to live in. However, the goal here is to mitigate the toxic load, get those detoxification organs going so you flush out the toxins, burn fat, and look awesome. And what most people don't get, that even if you're eating a healthy diet, a clean diet, if you're doing this one thing wrong, which is if your circadian rhythm, meaning your eating window, is not aligned with your circadian rhythm, you may be perpetuating the store fat signal. The result, you hold on to visceral fat, the fat around your liver, heart, pancreas, kidneys. And this fat is far more dangerous than the fat just underneath your skin called subcutaneous fat. This type of fat, the visceral fat, releases toxic metabolites, drives inflammation, blocks metabolism, and makes you insulin resistant. So the first piece of this trick is to recognize that your body is not simply fat because you ate too much. It's fat because your metabolic environment is holding on for this later. And that environment can change quickly. This brings us to the ultimate trick here. Eating only while there's light outside. Yeah, that's right. No food after sunset. That's it. Sounds simple, but simple is powerful. No need to explain more. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Goodbye. No, we need to unpack this and I need to give you the steps here. Here's what's going to happen when you follow this tip for just 7 days. Okay, number one, you want to identify your daylight window. And for most of us, the obvious answer is from sunrise to sunset. You want to adapt based on season and region, obviously, but generally, you eat your first meal soon after waking up and you finish your last meal before sunset. The second part of your protocol here is to consume the bulk, the majority, ideally all, of your calories and carbs before that last meal. That means breakfast and lunch versus dinner. The third part of the protocol here is to stay hydrated after the window closes. Water, decaffeinated herbal teas, but no caloric intake. You be consistent with this for 7 days straight. No late night meals. No just one snack tonight exceptions. This consistency is what flips the switch. Here's why this works so well. We're going to break down why eating only during daylight works so effectively. I'm going to walk you through the 4 interconnected mechanisms. Number 1, insulin resistance at night. Number 2, liver metabolism and fat detox. Number 3, melatonin and deep sleep zone. And number 4, the fat burning switch activation. Let's start with insulin resistance at night. Did you know you are more insulin resistant at night and more insulin sensitive in the morning? Numerous studies back this up. A study here on PubMed that I'm looking at shows that glucose tolerance is significantly lower in the evening compared to the morning. Another study here compared 2 different dinner times, a 10 p.m. dinner versus a 6 p.m. dinner. And it found that the later dinner, the 10 p.m. dinner, produced higher blood glucose and insulin curves and lower dietary fat burning overnight. In plain English for you, if you eat late at night, your body has less capacity to handle the glucose and fat from that meal. More of it ends up being stored than burned. Eating primarily during daylight takes advantage of your peak insulin sensitivity, so calories are handled much more efficiently as fuel versus storage. The second part of the equation here is liver metabolism and fat detox. The liver is your metabolism's command center, handling fat burning, glucose storage, detoxification, bile acids, and drug metabolism, but it also runs on a circadian clock. When meal timing is misaligned, like eating late at night, the liver's clock genes become disrupted, leading to higher fat accumulation in the liver. This is called fatty liver, and it can also worsen your lipid metabolism. Now, when you stop eating after sunset, you give your liver a fasting window during sleep to shift from storing fuel to clearing fuel and toxins, processing lipids, and mobilizing fat. In other words, you are shifting your metabolism from input mode into cleanup mode, which burns fat. This supports your goal of burning, melting dangerous fat. The third process that we want to take advantage of is melatonin deep sleep and fat burning. When you eat late at night, you disrupt your natural melatonin release. This is a hormone signaling at night during darkness and rest. One study on PubMed found that eating while melatonin is high impairs glucose tolerance. And the reason for this is because insulin and melatonin have an inverted relationship, meaning when melatonin is produced, insulin is lowered. When insulin is produced, melatonin is lowered. This means you get poor sleep, disrupted circadian rhythm, which equals higher cortisol, impaired hormonal balance, and impaired fat burning. Late meals equal more hunger, more fat storage. By finishing eating early and syncing your meals with daylight, you allow a smooth transition into sleep mode. Your body shifts into repair, detox, and fat burning instead of working on digestion and fat storage. And deep restorative sleep itself is a fat burning engine. You're enabling that engine. You actually burn more fat during deep sleep than working out in the gym. The fourth part of the puzzle here, and then I'll speak about how to implement this the right way and I'll address your questions. But the fourth part of the puzzle is the fat burning switch activation. With insulin lower, because you're not eating after sunset, and your liver busy with repair and fat oxidation, you flip the metabolic switch from storing to burning. Time-restricted feeding, which is what we're talking about here. Numerous studies show benefits for metabolic markers, such as total weight and insulin sensitivity when eating windows are earlier in the day. You get more autophagy, more fat loss, more benefits. So the one trick I'm explaining here is a strategic use of timing, not necessarily starving yourself, but aligning your eating window with your body's biological best time to fuel and to repair. And because you're not grazing at night, you're not giving your body constant fuel to store. You're forcing it into a state where it needs to tap into stored fat, especially the dangerous deep visceral fat, for easy energy overnight. That's how you melt it. Now let's discuss how to implement this. So we know why this works. Now let's talk about the how. Step 1, set your eating window. Ideally, wake up and have your first meal within 30 to 60 minutes after waking. Use daylight as your guide, depending on your location and season, but roughly from wake until the sun sets, or at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. We'll talk a little bit more about that because I know some places, especially we just had daylight savings, it gets dark around 4:30 or 5:30. What can you do? I'll address that a little bit later. Now, for me in Miami, Florida, the sun rises right now around 6:45 a.m. and it sets around 5:30 p.m. So that means my window is between 6:45 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. in terms of my eating window. No food outside of that window. You need to find your unique window. Step 2 here is to structure your meals. Consume the majority of your calories and carbohydrates earlier in the day, breakfast and lunch. This takes advantage of the higher insulin sensitivity. For dinner, keep it moderate. Protein, lower on the carbohydrate end, and non-starchy cruciferous vegetables. I'll give you an example of what a good dinner would look like. 6 ounces or 8 ounces of a piece of steak. I'd have a bigger piece, but 6 to 8 ounces of steak, steamed Brussels sprouts or broccoli or cauliflower, and maybe a tablespoon of butter on top of the steak. Great dinner option. It's low in carbs, high in protein and fat. Now, after your last meal, no caloric intake. If you feel hungry, drink water, decaffeinated herbal tea, but avoid snacks, treats, and grazing. Brush your teeth right after dinner, which prevents a lot of people from eating because they don't want to brush their teeth twice. Step 3 here in the protocol is to support your liver and sleep. Light physical activity during the day, like walking, movement, High intensity interval training helps to boost metabolic flexibility. Sleep hygiene is also important. You want a dark room. You want a consistent bedtime and wake time, even on the weekends. And you want to avoid screen time late at night. You also want to set your bedroom thermostat to 65 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, where studies show you get the most deep fat-burning sleep. Step 4 here in the protocol is to monitor and adapt for 7 days. For the first 7 days here, strictly adhere to this protocol. Track when you eat, when you stop, how you feel, energy levels, hunger, sleep quality. Your goal here by day 7 is, here's what you're going to notice: better sleep, less hunger after dark, a slimmer waist, and better energy in the morning. After the 7-day window, you can adapt, for example, a one flex meal occasionally, meaning if you have a dinner, an event, that could be an exception to the rule here. But I want you to follow this protocol to the T for at least the next 7 days. Now let's address some of the objections and then the questions you submitted. Objection 1, but Ben, I'm up late. I work nights. I'm a night shift worker. What can I do? Yep, shift workers are a special case. The trick still applies. Align your meal window with what I call your active phase, your day, which technically is the night, and stop eating at least 3 hours before your sleep period. The principle remains the same. Objection 2, what about dinner with friends, social events? I get it. I understand. One of my pet peeves when I have friends that visit Miami or when I'm out of town is that they invite me to late night dinners, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Oh my, I do not enjoy late night dinners. And by the time you get your food delivered to you by the server, it's like an hour after you've sat down. There are exceptions. I want you to follow this protocol for the next 7 days with no exceptions. Outside of that, you could have what I call flex days. And here's what you can do. If you go to a late night dinner with friends, just make sure it's a light dinner. Protein, non-starchy cruciferous vegetables, not a heavy meal, not a ton of carbs. You can still enjoy yourself and have the dinner. You're just not feasting at night. So when you follow this, here's what's going to happen in just the first 7 days. The first 2 days, most of where the shift happens. You might feel some hunger in the evening, maybe some restlessness as your body expects to eat, but you've stopped. Sleep may be a little off those first 2 nights, but days 3 and 4, things change. Your body starts adjusting. Your insulin levels drop overnight a little bit more. Your liver begins more fat oxidation during the fasting window. Melatonin is released during sleep, improving sleep quality. Days 5 and 6, you'll notice fewer cravings at night, improved morning energy, maybe less bloating, and probably an inch or two is lost and a slimmer waistline. You see, your metabolism has now shifted to fat-burning mode. Day 7, you'll be in an entirely new rhythm. Your body is expecting the daylight window. You're aligning with your circadian rhythm, and your fat burn switch is now engaged. That deep, dangerous, visceral fat is now being targeted. You've made the one trick habitual. Congratulations. After day 7, you've now built the foundation. Now you maintain and refine. Keep the eating window. Adjust the quality of meals. Keep the liver supported and fine-tune the sleep and activity. I'm going to address the questions you submitted on this topic. Before I do, I want to give you a valuable free resource that you could plug into what you just learned to accelerate your results. This is important. If your belly fat hasn't moved in months, even though you feel like you're doing everything right, it's really not your fault. You've been lied to. The real problem, visceral fat, insulin resistance, metabolic dysfunction, and no one's shown you how to fix it until now. This free 7-day guide flips your fat burning switch on with 0 calorie counting, 0 guesswork, and meals so simple it feels like cheating. This is your body's reset button. If you're sick of starting over, click the first link in the description box below, or if you're watching on YouTube, scan the QR code on the screen right now and take back control. This isn't a diet. It's the last one you'll ever need. Now let's get to your questions. Does black coffee or tea after sunset break the benefits of this trick? Well, ideally, you don't want to have coffee late at night. It'll break some of the benefits and disrupt your sleep. So I would not recommend black coffee after sunset. Tea is totally fine, as I mentioned. Herbal tea, chamomile tea, decaffeinated organic teas. My 2 favorite tea brands that I use is Elixir and Peak Tea. And I'll drop a link for both Elixir and Peak Tea in the notes down below. Can I still drink electrolytes or lemon water at night, or does that count as breaking the fast? That's fine. If it's unflavored electrolytes or lemon water, you could have that at night. Does not count as breaking your fast. That's totally fine. What if I do intermittent fasting already? How does this daylight eating trick fit with my schedule? You're going to really ease into this really efficiently and get the benefits even faster. So if you're already practicing intermittent fasting, awesome. All you got to do now is just shift your eating window to the daytime. And if you are eating during a 6-hour window, then start that 6-hour window earlier in the day versus later in the day. That's the only change you would make. There's the trick. There's a protocol. Do it for 7 days. Come back to this YouTube video for those watching on YouTube and let me know how it goes for you. Hey, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Share this with somebody you know right now. And if you love this lesson, you're going to want to hear a previous lesson about why you never want to break a fast with these 5 foods and the best foods to break your fast with. Here's a clip from this recent lesson. Click the video on the screen and I'll see you in that next lesson. Cereal, oatmeal, toast, or even healthy granola all spike your insulin instantly and send your body from a fat burning state when you were fasted instantly into a fat storage state. A lot of protein shakes out there are contaminated with heavy metals and other contaminants. They also contain artificial sugars and